Human brain is asymmetrical. That means that different sides of the brain do different things, and the way our networks work in the brain is that everything needs to work like cogs working smoothly together. And that's great, but we don't start out like that. And if you've got learning difficulties, you may not arrive at this point. Also, it's important to understand that when everything is running smoothly, the brain uses considerably less energy. So if we get people to a point where they are smooth running, then they are going to get considerably less stressed, less anxious, and lo and behold, less likely to have meltdowns. Humans are some of the most asymmetrically developed animals, and when we're infants at birth, our brain is relatively symmetrical. There's very little difference between left and right. It is that development that we go through from 0 to 7 that creates that asymmetry. It's really important, and each layer builds. So when you are a newborn infant and you're just working off sound and you start your movements by reflex, your brain has to gain control and conscious control of the body, and you go through a process called integrating your primitive reflexes. If that doesn't happen, then you can't get the asymmetries working properly in the brain for proper dominance of hands, etc., and eyes. In children and adults with learning difficulties, there are fewer asymmetries. There are fewer links from left to right brain and back. So we really want to design an education system that maximizes the development across from left to right. We want to check it's all in place and really get it mastered. We want to go on developing those links for life. Just think, every human should have a dominant hand, a dominant foot, a dominant ear. None of you have checked yours, I bet. You need a dominant eye, few of you check that. They are important, and it helps if they're all fully developed. When I'm working with people that don't have proper development of dominant hand, it causes tremendous confusion in the brain. Those need to be in place. The dominant hand does not come in until 6. That's really quite important, because if you think about it, if the dominant hand is coming in at 6, and we've had a child in school since 4, we could easily have been teaching them with the wrong hand. And they tend, once they've been pushed towards one hand, to stay with that hand. So I have clients, we get everything aligned and they go, do you know, I don't think I'm left-handed. I actually think I'm right-handed. And suddenly we're having to change things. And that's quite complicated for a sort of 7, 8-year-old to deal with. We have a very distinct developmental timeline, and that builds on. So our postural control is not in place till 7. Our bilateral integration, our left and right integration of our motor skills isn't fully in place till 7. There are various stages we have to go through. Our sound processing, we are nearly all left ear dominant till 6, and then we move over to right ear dominant, ideally. But for some people that is blocked because they've got terrible ear infection, grommets, trauma, what have you. You don't process all the sounds of the English language until 7, even if your sound processing is fantastic. And you can hear children's voices. You can hear they can't enunciate properly. Binocular vision, the ability to work efficiently with both eyes, isn't in place till 7, 8. Our motor sensory integration, bringing together our senses and motor skills so they work together efficiently, isn't in place till 8. So infancy in humans is 0 to 7, 8. Starting school at 4 has very serious consequences and can damage the process of proper motor sensory integration. We really need to be aware of that. We have no basic checks in this country, no checks that the motor skills are developing properly so people can work across their midline. We have no checks that sound processing is working properly, so majority of people have gone over to right ear dominant, except for the 30% of left-handers who have completely reversed, and they are left ear dominant. We have no checks that all children are working with two eyes and sending messages to the brain. We've really got to stop and think. If we want our children to be fully skilled, we want a highly skilled population, we've got to make our children fit to learn. We have to make our nation efficient learners. Thanks for listening.